The Washington machine that gobbles up our freedoms and invades every nook and cranny of our lives must be stopped. The history of man is the history of men and women striving to restrain the power of government and expand the realm of freedom. We need to return to our founding principles. Our Bill of Rights is what defines us. It's what makes us exceptional. For liberty to expand, government must shrink. And our government today is larger than it has ever been in our history. Our future can include a road back to prosperity, back to respect at home and abroad. It should include a balanced budget and a simple, fair tax system. It should include a government that protects your rights and your security. It should include a stronger, better, more agile military. It's time for a new way, a new set of ideas, a new leader, one you can trust.
I believe the bravest and most honest person on stage last night was Rand Paul, because he told you, as the American people, the truth, and he told it to a group of people that were not going to agree with him on it.
Rand Paul is perhaps the most dangerous man in politics for Democrats and Republicans right now.
He's an outsider, but he understands policy.
The most interesting man in politics.
I plan to vote for Rand Paul. When elected, he said his big priorities were the debt, and the debt.
Japan once again overtaking China as the biggest owner of American debt.
I'm confident we're going to raise the debt limit. We always have. We will do it again.
As we go further and further into debt, we become less and less safe. This president will add more to the debt than all of the previous presidents combined.
We don't need a balanced budget amendment.
President Obama is overspending.
We are losing 1 million jobs a year to the burden of debt. President Obama is really trying to destroy our economy. What would happen if the debt ceiling didn't go up? You'd have a balanced budget. How bad would that be? That's what every American family does. You spend what comes in. Can you be a conservative and be liberal on spending? You cannot be a conservative if you're going to keep promoting new programs that you're not going to pay for. We borrow $1 million a minute. This vast accumulation of debt threatens not just our economy, but our security. I propose we do something extraordinary. Let's just spend what comes in.
We are in a terrible, terrible, terrible economy, and Rand Paul's proposal is absolutely spectacular.
He wants to bust up the 70,000 pages worth of tax code, all in favor of a simple flat rate for everyone.
So we just decided to get rid of the entire tax code and start over.
It's a big, bold plan.
The most fair tax program for all Americans in our history.
I've introduced a 5-year balanced budget. I've introduced the largest tax cut in our history.
Of all those candidates' tax plans, only Rand had one that actually broke into a surplus for the budget.
What you do is get rid of all the favoritism, get rid of all the cronyism, and there'll be no rich person or no rich corporation that pays zero. Everybody's going to pay 14.5. That's what we call it, the fair and flat tax. So if you're a worker and you make $40,000 a year, you're going to get $2,000 more in your paycheck. If we get rid of the payroll tax, everybody's going to get a tax cut.
I hope he appreciates just how good his proposal is, because it is really a good game changer.
Who impresses you?
Well, I certainly like Rand Paul because he thinks quite logically, and he has courage. He's willing to take positions that some other people won't.
And the senator from Kentucky might just be the candidate who ends up winning this thing, the one going up against Hillary Clinton. Put a few bucks on Rand Paul. I would.
You have said you would, quote, carpet bomb ISIS into oblivion, testing whether, quote, sand can glow in the dark.
Could you order airstrikes that would kill innocent children by not the scores, but the hundreds and the thousands?
It's actually merciful if you go ahead and finish the job.
Frankly, it's time that we punch the Russians in the nose.
Would you be prepared to shoot down that Russian plane and risk war with Russia?
Not only are we prepared to do it, I would do it.
I think if you're in favor of World War III, you have your candidate.
I believe with all my heart that our first priority must be world peace. And to maintain that peace requires strength.
I'm a Reagan Republican. I believe in a strong national defense. I believe in peace through strength. I think that intervention's not always the answer, and that some interventions lead to unintended consequences.
Use of force is always and only a last resort when everything else has failed.
Every time we have toppled a secular dictator, whether it was Iraq, Libya, Syria, Egypt, chaos has ensued and radical Islam has become more of a threat.
The Senate has just voted to give the Obama administration the authority it needs to train and arm members of the Syrian opposition, but not before certain senators voiced some very strong objections.
Sending arms to so-called moderate Islamic rebels in Syria is a fool's errand and will only make ISIS stronger.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes.
I warned that these arms might end up in the hands of jihadists, and that one day we might be forced to go back to fight against our own weapons. Within a year, that prediction came true. ISIS rides around in $1 billion worth of U.S. Humvees. It was a failure of leadership. I think if you want to be commander-in-chief, the bar you have to cross is, will you defend the country? Will you provide adequate security? It's the 6 months leading up to Benghazi where there were multiple requests for more security, and it never came. Had I been president at the time, and I found that you did not read the cables from Benghazi, you did not read the cables from Ambassador Stevens, I would have relieved you of your post. Her dereliction of duty should forever preclude her from higher office. I envision an America with a national defense unparalleled, undefeatable, and unencumbered by nation building. I say not one penny more to countries that are burning our flag. I think we defeat terrorism by showing them that we do not fear them. As Commander-in-Chief, I will do whatever it takes to defend America. But in defending America, we cannot lose what America stands for. No terrorist and no country will ever conquer us if we remain steadfast to the principles of our founding documents. We must protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Understand how the American people are responding to his courageous leadership. To Senator Paul's doing something that the last 4 years has happened far too little in this chamber, which is standing up and fighting for liberty.
This is a terrific performance of leadership, of courage, of stamina, of determination on the part of Senator Rand Paul.
Rand Paul is where the country is.
He's where the American people are right now.
Rand Paul, hands down, is fighting for the liberties and freedoms of people.
Rand Paul gave us a case study in what courageous, energetic leadership can be.
Are we going to so blithely give up our freedom? Are we going to so blithely go along and just say, take it? Well, I'm not going to take it anymore.
It is time for principled leadership. It is time for knowledge, for experience, for compassion, for opportunity, for unity. It is time for a President Rand Paul.
Will you fight for freedom? Will you vote for freedom? It's time for a new president.